Hey, how's it going everyone? My name is Kiri and today we're going to be talking about a Stamina Templar PvP build for the GREYMOOR patch. We're back. It's been a little bit of time. Now we are streaming on Twitch now, and that's going to be twitch.tv/KirimotoTV if you want to check me out. I stream every Wednesday, Saturday, and Sunday nights. Now this specific build video is going to be mostly for open world. It's going to be 1vxing solo PvP and group PvP. So that's Citadel and Imperial City, but if you guys are more interested in dueling or no CP BGs, I'll also have build videos for that in the very near future. I think this build video was in the highest demand, so we're going to go and release this one first before the other two. Now if you guys, again, are interested in dueling, you might want to check out my Twitch channel, as I've just had a 1v1 coaching stream talking about the fundamentals of dueling, not specifically for Stamina Templar, but the theory can be applied to universal classes in ESO, and that was with Nephis QS. So if you want to check that out, make sure to hit that subscribe button, as a coaching video will be on my YouTube channel within a week. We're so close to 1,000 subs, guys. Also, make sure to hit that like button, as it's one of the best ways to support my channel. So let's preface this by saying that we do have less healing this patch. A Battle Spirit gave us minus 10% from 60% to 50%, but since that is not multiplicative, or rather it is actually 20% less healing. Might have to add a little bit more defensive components to our build in order to have the same survivability we had last patch. I also want to add that Bloodspawn was nerfed, and Bloodspawn was a fundamental to a lot of our build videos that we've released in this channel. So in order to maintain the same amount of survivability and ult gen that we had from Bloodspawn, we've swapped from the Orc race to the Nord race this patch to reach the same ult gen and the same resistances. Now, that might not be enough. We might have to add a little bit more survivability, but let's go ahead and get right into these stats. We're going to rally up here. Look at our max resources, 20.3k max magicka. That's a respectable amount. Max health is 19.5k. That's going to jump up to about 25.9, or right underneath 26k in PvP. Max stamina 30.5. That's a healthy amount. Stamina recovery is 1700. Usually we run around 15 to 1600. It's a little bit more than usual, and I'll explain that in a second. And finally, weapon damage 4.6k. We're running two sets in our build that are not showing on our stat sheet. That's Fury and Balorgs, and we also don't have a weapon damage proc at the moment. So with those three things, our weapon damage is going to be pushing 6k. Weapon crit is going to be 30% without major savagery. With major savagery, it's going to be 40%. Spell resist without a rune. With a rune, it's going to be 28k on our front bar, 25.6 on our back bar, 31.29. And subtract 2.5k because we're not always going to be standing in our rune. We have 2.5 for standing in our rune right now. We have the Warrior Mundus Stone and Lava Foot Soup for our food. Finally, the reason why we have so much resistances is because we're a Nord. You can run Auric, you can run Imperial, you can run non-Auric races. But if you decide to go a non-Auric race, I would strongly recommend to run 2 to 3 protective on your jewelry, so you can have the same amount of resistances as Nord. The reason why we opted for Nord is because Bloodspawn got nerfed, and the old Bloodspawn gave a healthy amount of resistances and ultimate regen. Now it does the same thing, but a lot worse. So Nord is a lot closer to the old Bloodspawn. That's why we've opted to drop Bloodspawn and go Nord instead. That way we'll have about the same average resistances and ult gen that the old Bloodspawn gave us just from our race. Now let's go ahead and get into these sets. We're running 2-piece Balorgs, 5-piece Fury, and 5-piece Ancient Dragon Guard. It's going to be 5 medium, 2 heavy. All triglyphs with impen on everything. Our jewelry is going to be 2 infused weapon damage and 1 healthy stamina recovery. On our front bar, we're going to have a 2-handed Nirnhone Maul with a weapon damage glyph. On our back bar, we're going to have a Nirn 1-handed with an impen max stamina shield and drain health poisons. Now let me explain why we run these sets. We have 2-piece Balorgs in the previous patches. Again, we used to run Bloodspawn, but we've swapped from Orc to Nord to retain similar stats from the old Bloodspawn. But in turn, we've lost the weapon damage that we got from Orc, so we're getting that right back and implementing it through our Undaunted weapon damage set. or an Undaunted damage set. 5-piece Fury, that's going to give us about an average of 375 weapon damage. On average, of course. If you're fighting more people, you're going to get more of an average of weapon damage on this set. And finally, 5-piece Ancient Dragon Guard. Now I know what you guys are thinking.
Gary, why are you not running New Moon instead of Ancient Dragon Guard? It gives more weapon damage than Ancient Dragon Guard.
Now that's a very good question, and we run Ancient Dragon Guard for a few different reasons. The first one being it gives us a line of max health. Now we're running Lava Foot Soup as our food that doesn't give any max health, so we can definitely put that max health to use from Ancient Dragon Guard. The other reason is Ancient Dragon Guard doesn't increase the cost of your abilities by 5%, and your sustain is going to be a direct contributing factor to your survivability this patch, and it's a lot harder to survive this patch. So that's why we've opted for a damage set that gives us better sustain than New Moon. Now you can replace Ancient Dragon Guard with New Moon, you just have to be a little bit more mindful about your resources. In addition, it also gives us resistances under 50% HP, and 3,339 is really nothing to scoff at. It's about 8% damage mitigation, and that can be useful. Now you can argue that the weapon damage that you get from New Moon can also directly contribute to your healing, but Resistance's 8% damage mitigation is a whole defensive set in itself, so I would say they're pretty on par, if not maybe the 8% damage mitigation is going to be giving you better survivability than 300, 400 weapon damage on your healing. Now finally, we run 1-piece Healthy on our jewelry for the same reason that we run Ancient Dragon Guard, and that's because it gives a line of max HP, and so does Fury. Even with triglyphs and our racial passives, which gives us HP as well, that's still not enough because we're running a no HP, full max stam and stamina recovery food like Lava Foot Soup. So in order to reach around 26k max HP, we decided to go 1-piece Healthy. Now the stamina recovery, we have to keep in mind by dropping Blood Spawn, we're losing the 1-piece, which is 129 stamina recovery, and I feel like we need that more so than any patch right now, because survivability is a lot harder, like I said. So we can definitely use the extra sustain, or the same sustain that we had from Blood Spawn, plus maybe 50 extra recovery there. So let's go ahead and get right into these skills. On our front bar two-handed, we're going to have Jabs, Javelin, Power the Lights, Rally, Executioner, and Empowering Sweep. Javelin is going to be our preferred CC over something like Reverb, because it is ranged. It's better for peeling if you're in a group, better for chasing, better open world ability CC over something like Reverb. Reverb is very good, but I feel like it's limited to one-on-one, maybe 1v1s. Is probably where it shines the most. Now Empowering Sweep is our preferred ultimate over things like Dawnbreaker or even Onslaught. It's cheaper, and that's one of the reasons why, but it also may not hit as hard, but it definitely hits hard. Now the initial damage can proc Burning Light, which is a Templar passive here, and that's going to be providing additional damage to your burst, your Empowering Sweep. In addition to that, it also procs a ring around you every 2 seconds. You just saw it proc once, there it is again. It procs 3 times. If you hit someone, it procs a 4th time, and it gives you another tick for every person that you hit. So that can also proc Burning Light, giving you even more damage. On top of that, it also gives you Empowering, which gives you 40% more damage on your light attacks, which you should be weaving in anyway. So and it only costs 71 ultimate, and it gives you all those things. You can proc basically Balorgs almost on cooldown, maybe a 60% uptime, 55% uptime on Balorgs. And we're not really using Balorgs for like big burst, we're using it as a consistent weapon damage set. But you can definitely run the other 2 ultimates like Dawnbreaker or Onslaught. Now if you are in a group of 6 or more, I would actually recommend that you run Onslaught or Dawnbreaker instead of Empowering Sweep. Reason being that your group is probably also going to be running expensive ultimates, and they're going to be retreating when they don't have ult and going in when they have ult. So you want to be on the same tempo in terms of ult gen as they are. So if you can run a more expensive ultimate like they are, then I would recommend going for Onslaught or Dawnbreaker. Also, they do have more one-shot potential because you're running Balorgs, and a higher ultimate is going to give you more damage with Balorgs. So that's another reason why you might want to run those 2 abilities if you're in a group of 6 or higher. If you're running at lower small scale or solo, or even BGs, I would run Empowering Sweep, because it's so much cheaper. You're going to be spitting it out on cooldown basically. On our back bar sword and board, we can have Purify, Restoring Focus, Ransack, Vigor, Race Against Time, and Remembrance. Now, most of these are pretty basic with the exception of Ransack and Race Against Time. We can run Shuffle if you guys don't want to farm for Race Against Time. Now, I personally prefer Race Against Time over Shuffle, because a lot of times when I die in open world is I get outnumbered and I can't get out of the situation, and I'm overwhelmed by the amount of numbers. So I feel like Major Expedition is going to help you, along with the Snare Immunity, get out of the situation where you are being overwhelmed by numbers, more so than Shuffle. Shuffle does probably a better job of keeping you in the fight and mitigating damage, because it does give you major evasion. But if you get overwhelmed or outnumbered, Race Against Time is going to give you a better chance of getting out, or at least kiting, repositioning, and maybe catching someone that's at the front of the group and being able to turn on them. And then Ransack. Now Ransack gives you 5,280 pen. If we divide that by percentage, so 420. Now usually it's 660, but it's different in PvP than it is in PvE. There's a different average resistances. Players tend to run more resistances than trial bosses. So I use 420 as my percentage converter. So here's the percentage of damage that you get from Ransack on average. If it's a squishier target, you're going to get less. If it's tankier than 24k resist, for example, it's going to be more. But if we want to convert this into weapon damage, 12.57%. More damage on an above average damage build, you multiply that times 84, and that's going to give us 1,000. So the tooltip would read, giving you about 1,056 weapon damage versus the target that you debuff. Now, if we want to compare that to sets like Master Bow, which reads about the same, gives you 330 weapon damage against targets with your poison arrow. 330 is affected by your rally, it's affected by your medium armor, all your multipliers. But the number that I came up with isn't. So if we want to compare them better, we have to strip away the multipliers. In this case, like Fighter's Guild, if we run any Fighter's Guild abilities, 3% for each one. Templar gives us 6% for being a Templar. Medium armor, rally, things like that. So I think a good number would be somewhere from about 40 to 46%. Let's do 40, divide that by 1 point. I like to use 1.44, that's with one Fighter's Guild ability. And we're dividing that number to, again, try to compare that to Master Bow, which gives you 330 weapon damage. So if this were to read the same as Master Bow, it would say, instead of the fracture, it would say gives you 733 weapon damage against your targets affected by Ransack. It's just for comparison between Master Bow and Ransack. I do want to say that if you are running in a group of 6 or higher, there's a few changes that I would do. The first one would be the ultimate, which I mentioned already. The second change would be starting to remove single target abilities from your bar, because they lose value the more people that you're fighting. Ransack being a single target ability that I would remove from my bar, and I would replace Ransack with probably Shuffle and run both Race Against Time and Shuffle, so you can have major evasion and a source of snare immunity from stamina that costs stamina, and a source of snare immunity that costs magicka, depending on which one you have more of. And you have a source of major expedition as well. On your front bar, you can replace Power of the Light if you're running in a group of 6 or more, because that is a single target ability, with something that gives you more damage like Camel Hunter. And finally, you would probably replace Executioner with Reverse Slice for added AoE. So that's what it would look like if you were running in a group of 6 or more. Let's go ahead and get right into the CP. We'll start with the blue tree. We have 15 into Blessed. The Atronach has 81 Mastered Arms and 39 Physical Weapon Expert. We want at least 120 points into the CP tree so we can unlock Tactician, so we can get off balance from roll dodging. 32 Piercing, 49 Mighty, 52 Precise Strikes, and 2 Thumb. We don't run a lot of dot damage. Our only dot damage is the poisons and the Empowering Sweep tick. Jabs is now direct damage, so we don't need to worry about Thumb too much. Red tree is going to be 66 Ironclad, 7 Spell Shield, and 9 Medium Armor Focus. We still run a healthy amount into resistance because Balor is going to see a popularity in use this patch, and our biggest threat right now is going to be one shots. So if we can reduce the potential of one shots by adding crit resist, then let's go ahead and do that. 43 and 43 in both of these. 34 thick skinned, just so we can get 120 into the CP tree so we can get Unchained. And finally 15 quick recovery on the red tree. Green tree, we're gonna have 56 Warlord, good amount into sprint cost reduction, 39. 2 bashing focus, we want at least 1 point into Siphoner so we can proc Siphoner in open world. 76 Moon Calf, and 40 into Tumbling, and 56 into Shadow Ward. So anyway, that's going to be the build video for GREYMOOR patch. Solo PvP, group PvP, open world PvP. If you guys want to know what the BG build and the solo build are, make sure to hit that subscribe button and follow me on Twitch, as I'll be streaming every Wednesday, Saturday, and Sunday. I'll see you guys soon.